Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to American Defender. So I'm just going to get straight to it today. We're going to talk about the most tedious, nerve-wracking repair that Miss Defender and I have ever done. Recently, we went and picked this guy up. This is a Westernfield X-Ray Nancy Hotel, or X&H, 5608 Alpha. It is a 28-inch barreled, 12-gauge pump action, all right? This is a very similar copy of, or really it was made by the same company as the Noble Model 60. That's really what this is. It's a Noble Model 60 with one difference: the location of the safety. The actual Noble Model 60 had the safety up here on the comb, whereas the Westernfield version, which was the Montgomery Ward's version, or Monkey Ward's as we used to call it, safety's down here in front of the trigger. That's the big difference. Other than that, they're the same gun. All right. Like I said, they were made from the late 50s to 1971 when Noble Manufacturing went out of business. We picked this up as a gunsmith special for $89, and it was locked up tight. You could not run the action. You could not pull the trigger. You couldn't do anything with it. And so we took a chance with it. Thought it was a good project gun to get into. This Defender wants to learn how to repair guns, and so I thought, all right, we're gonna go head first into this, and we're gonna get this thing. We both kind of thought it was going to be something super simple, and oh boy, were we wrong. All right, we got it home, got the trigger group out, because that was the very first thing my intuition said was, okay, look at the trigger group. Let's look and see if there's any parts that are missing, broken, bent, in backwards. And, well, that's what happened, is there were parts that were broken, there were parts that were out of round, and, well, installed backwards. So that immediate issue of it being locked up was that there were some parts that were installed backwards, all right? So we got in there and put them back the way they're supposed to go. Mind you, there's no real complete exploded diagrams of this thing. There's really no videos that go through and piece by piece show you everything on this. I thought about doing one, and if you guys would like to see that, let me know down below and I'll do it. Because there's nothing that really gets very detailed into these shotguns. But anyway, we got it all back together. We got it to where it would cycle, all right? Got it cleaned up. It would cycle, but we noticed when you would pull the trigger, it stayed locked up. You had to physically push the release lever button, and then you could cycle it, all right? We got to that point, though, and technically speaking, in that particular condition, the gun is safe to fire because it's not unlocking, all right? It's as long as it isn't unlocking prematurely, you're good to go, all right? And it's a pump shotgun. You can just kind of hold forward on it, and so we went out and we shot it, all right? We were trying to get a whole box of rounds through it, but that didn't happen. We got exactly one out of it, and it broke again on us, okay? And that's what test firing is for, all right? This shell got stuck in the chamber, which tells me that it needs an extractor spring, and that's what I confirmed. But when I went to go bring the pump back forward, because I was going to try to, force the bolt up over the rim here, and then there's a trick to this. If you have a, maybe I can get it to do it now. I doubt it, since I'm on camera. But we'll put this one back in here. At least we know the ejector's working. It should. It's just a piece of sheet metal. Get this up in here. There we go. All right. All right. So when you go to pump this back, what it was doing is it was just stripping off of the shell. See, now it'll do it. As you can see, it's extracting just fine now. It's not fine. I know that spring is weak because I can sit here and push on it with my finger. But what you do if you run into this is you take your thumb, and on the front half of the extractor here, what you'll do is you'll push in with your finger or your thumb or whatever, and then what you're doing is you're making up for that spring, making sure that hook can't lift, and then you come down here, unlock it, and then start bringing it back. And once you get it sliding, it should just come right out, okay? That's just a little trick on how to get a stuck shell out using the extractor and not sitting there with a knife or screwdriver or something, right? So that's what I was trying to do. But when I did that and I went to go slam it back forward on it, the action bar just slid right out of its pocket, all right? So the action bar, for those of you that don't know, see this bar right here? It comes up here and it's on a steel tube. Your stock here, your fore end, goes over that steel tube. This is the link between you and this bolt. Okay, this is what transfers the energy to the bolt that you put into it. And then at the end of that action bar, there's usually some little 90-degree, little like a tooth hanging off the bottom of it that mates into a little square cutout in the bolt, or the bolt lockup mechanism. This is a two-piece bolt. It's got a lockup mechanism that runs on beside the bolt. Okay. What happens is over time, if you slamming it back forward, those two faces on the action bar and on the bolt will start to deflect from one another. They're trying to push each other away, and you get these opposing angles where when you pull it forward, what can happen is that action bar can actually bend outward like this. All right, and then it uses that opposing angle to slide right up and over and out of its spot. All right. The fix for this, if you ever run into it, is just a fine bastard file. All right. You get in there and 15, 20 strokes with a file, you just file the edges flat again. All right. Or as close to flat or stock configuration as you can. All right. So that is what we did. We got that done, and that fixed that. So I know I need an extractor spring. That ain't a big deal. Here in about a week or so, I'll whip up a spring. I'll go buy some more music wire and make a spring. All right. Again, this is a shotgun you cannot go just buy parts for. Okay. So now I wanted to know why it is that when you pull the trigger, I had to manually unlock it. Because, again, it should, as you saw here, it should just pull the trigger. Get my fingers up here so you know I'm not pushing any levers. And you see that drop down a little bit right there on that pump handle? It should just unlock when you pull the trigger. This is a somewhat common, not as common these days, but it's still a common problem in used shotguns. All right. And this is why I think the internals on this particular, if I had to describe them, I would say that this mechanism that makes this functionality a thing in the shotgun is kind of Mickey Moused. All right, it's kind of Mickey Mouse. On the release lever on the back side of it, if you look on your shotgun, if you have one of these, you'll see a little groove cut in it at a pretty steep angle. All right. Inside that groove, there should be staked to it a little shepherd's hook that looks kind of like something like this. All right. It should be a 45 thousandths of an inch thick wire. This is 47 2/1000ths of an inch. It doesn't matter. All right. But it should look something like this. And this little end right here, all right, you can kind of see it there. You got a 90 and then another 90 and then a 45, and then it kind of goes into a hook. This little guy is staked into that lever. It comes down and it forms this hook here. And on the hammer, there's a pin that comes forward and grabs the end of this hook right up in this area here. When it does that, it pulls this forward, but when it pulls it forward, it's not this kind of motion it creates. It's this motion, okay, that it creates. So what that does is drop the lever down so the bolt can move rearward, all right? This was the pain in the butt, all right? You have to cut out the old wire in the staking with a whiz wheel on your Dremel, which I did. And then I took it out to my mill, pulled out my little jeweler's staking press, put all the parts up in it, getting ready to stake it, hit it with the hammer, and, well, it just splits in half. The whole lever just right there in that groove just splits. Just like I was hitting an old, stale cookie. It just right there. The spring that I made at that time, I don't know where it went. It flew off into the blue yonder, and the two pieces fell into my toolbox, and I was really, really mad. Okay. That then caused me to come inside, throw the pieces in my little parts bin. By the way, whenever you take one of these apart, you want a bin like this, right? Because there's a itty bitty little tiny springs all over inside this thing. But I threw them back in there. I went to bed. I woke up the next morning. I thought, all right, I'm going to look and see if I can buy that lever, if I can find a used one, which I couldn't. I could find the lever. Remember, it's an assembly with the shepherd's hook on it. And the only place I could find it was eBay. Newmark didn't have it. Jack First didn't have it. I don't even think Sarco's in business anymore. Aim Surplus didn't have it. Nobody had it, okay? eBay had the levers, but the shepherd's hook was broke off. It's an assembly, so they're broken parts, and it puts me right back to where I was in the beginning, all right? So I just decided, all right, I'm going to try to weld it. It's super thin, but I'm at least going to, it's a Hail Mary move, using the football terms, but I'm going to try it. So I pull out my MIG welder, turn the power down on it, crank up the feed to about 6, all right? And a little over halfway, I can go all the way up to 12, so a little over halfway. And I just prayed and just kind of zzz, little buzz on it, get right next to it, zzz, another little buzz. And, 4 or 5 little buzzes later, all of a sudden, it worked. The thing's back together. I'm like, heck yeah, hallelujah. And here's a picture of the one side of it after I went ahead and, ground the weld and everything down, all right? So I'm like, we're back in business, all right? Put it back in the gun and was going to leave it like that. I was like, I don't mind pushing the lever. I really don't. But I can't leave well enough alone. So I pulled it all back apart, go back out there, build another lever, or another spring. And this time I was going to try to figure something else out instead of staking it. I wanted to, another method that was less permanent, if you will, that could be reversed easily if I have to ever replace a spring again. And so what I decided to do, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, yeah, he's going to pull out the welder, isn't he? No, I'm not, because that's permanent. That's very permanent. It would have worked, but also at the same point in time, with 47 thousandths inch wire, it probably would have burned right through it. Okay. I'm lucky I got what I got to hold. All right. I decided to silver solder it. That's what I decided to do. And Ace Hardware sells this silver solder that is usable with a propane torch. It's 2% silver. Comes in it's $15. Comes with just a little roll of it, and there's this tube of solder, or flux. I mean, little tube of flux and a roll of solder. And the flux is incredibly watery. It's very runny, but you use a lot of it. You go through a lot of this flux. And that's how I got it back together. And so there's the other side with the hook and everything in place after I soldered it. Okay, there's the picture of it. You guys have seen those if you follow my posts on the community page, which you should be doing. Okay, so I post all sorts of funny stuff on there all the time. But either way, we got it, all right? And I got it in there, and I got it back together. And as you can see now, it does not need me to push the lever. I just pull the trigger, all right? I'm to the point now where all I need to do is an extractor spring. But while sitting down messing with this thing, the other thing that happened to it, my brass bead fell out. And it's in between the cushions of my couch. All right, so it never ends with this thing. Like I said, it's the most tedious, frustrating, nerve-wracking project that we have ever taken on. I will take making my own extractors for the X9P out of just raw materials any day of the week. I would rather do that than what I've had to do here. All right. But there is also a moral to this story, and that is, if you sit down, if you want to be a gun owner, right, like a gun enthusiast, if you will, it's important to learn just some basic metalworking skills, because basic skills like welding, soldering, using a file, using a Dremel tool, knowing how to use a pair of calipers, a micrometer, maybe some bore gauges, things like that. If you learn to do that, you become self-sufficient, and you'll almost never have to ever go see a gunsmith. All right. And self-sufficiency is really the American way. All right. That is what we really are. We are a self-sufficient people. So there is the story of the Nightmare shotgun. I hope you guys liked it. I know it's a little long, and I know a lot of you out there have the attention span of a chipmunk, but there it is. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe if you would, please. Help me with the algorithm. Trying to hit 3,800 subs by the end of the year, and if I don't hit them, well, you're going to kiss me goodbye. All right, this is going to be my last year on YouTube. So with that, thank you for watching again, and God bless you. Take a kid fishing, take a kid shooting, and I will see all you fine folks on the flip. Bye now.